Just ignore them, they say. Just avoid the other person, don't talk to them, don't look at them, don't listen to anything that they say to you, or what they say to other people about you. That's pretty much everybody's answer these days when it comes to bullying. If you're having an ongoing issue with another person, and the issue's not resolving itself, and the other person's not grown up enough to work the issue out with you like a man, and actually solve the problems with words and not hostility, that's just about the answer that everyone will give you. Just about everyone out there will say the same. You got an issue with another person? Just ignore them and avoid them. Well, that may temporarily push the issue to the side. It doesn't fix it though. All it does is put the issue off to the side where it can get worse and eventually come back around to haunt somebody. And too many times when I was in school, being autistic growing up, I'm a target for bullying. There's a lot of things that I do that maybe I do have control over that made me a target for bullying, but then again, there's a lot of stuff that I can't control. And when you're bullied for stuff, bullied for just existing, basically, just for being there and being who you are, it feels pretty bad, especially when almost the whole school does it to you. And you know what they told me every single time? They told me just to avoid that person and not to talk to them. Well, guess what? That doesn't do shit. That doesn't fix anything. That is the most lazy and just one of the most runaround ways to try to fix a problem. It requires the least amount of effort on whoever's part it is who's in charge. And it requires the greatest amount of effort on the victim's part. Because it may be really hard for a victim to ignore certain types of bullying. I mean, acting like you know what the issue is and just telling them to ignore it every single time for every single case, that's not going to solve anything. All it's going to do, even though that person may follow the advice and they may ignore the bully, at the same time the bully may not, because the bully doesn't know what's going on. He or she doesn't know that you told the victim to ignore them. If the bully sees somebody ignoring them, some of them are pretty resilient. You'd be amazed at just how ineffective ignoring a person can be. You'd be surprised just how resilient some bullies can be when they want to get their point across to somebody and when they just want to try to get control of somebody's feelings. They'll say anything they can, and then eventually they'll start doing anything they can to try to make the other person notice them and to make the other person feel negative in some sort of way, often in ways that involve destroying personal property or interfering with what somebody's doing physically. And when that happens, guess who's to blame? The person that you told about the bullying. Yep, it's the administrators, the principals, the advisors, the counselors, the teachers, everybody at school that you go to, basically, or out there anywhere, basically, that, for that matter, anyone who's in charge that you tell about an issue, they're just going to tell you the same old thing. We're becoming a world that's every man for himself. Hostility is running rampant. People out there are fakes these days. All over Facebook and all over my phone, I hear my friends talking about how their best friends or their loved ones suddenly betrayed them and turned out to be a fake this whole time. You hear that kind of stuff happening all the time. People betraying each other, lying, not speaking how they feel. And you also hear cases of people getting bullied constantly in school. The people who are honest, the ones who are genuinely good people when you get to know them, the ones who, when they come out of their cold hard shell, you realize that they're a very kind and loving person inside. They're the easiest victims for bullies because they're the most sensitive and they're the most likely to try to do something about it and stand up for themselves. I had that happen to me a lot. They always told me just to ignore the other person. Well, guess what? I may have ignored the other person for a while, but the bully sure did not ignore me. The bully surely didn't stay away from me. And it got to the point where I had no choice but to let it escalate physically. Because they're the ones who chose to make it go down that path. They chose to physically attack me and start pushing me around and shoving me when they realized that they couldn't get to me with words. And when that happened, that's when the fists started flying. Without hesitation, I would spin around, throw a punch, smack someone up, some kid that was often much smaller than me, and was just picking on me for shits and giggles. I don't care if the person was stronger than me. If they get in my way, and they start attacking me, and they start making other people attack me too, and they get other people to bully me, that's when I get mad. Because then I'm going to do something about it. And if the authorities won't do anything about it, I sure will. Because it's every man for himself. It's survival. Stick to your guns and do everything you have to just keep going down your own path, and don't let anyone else get in your way or tell you what to do. And when other people think that they can try to be an adversary towards you, and you realize that the people that you trust most to help you are your worst enemies. School principals, teachers, directors, advisors, counselors, whatever you want to call them, they're not helping. They're not fixing any of the bullying. They're just putting the bullying off to the side where it either will or won't come back later. It can come back, and it often does. And too many cases I've heard in schools before about how people were kicked off of football teams and kicked out of school clubs because they stuck up against someone who was bullying them. And the school just said that it went against school policy to throw another punch or physically attack or restrain another student, when that other person was already attacking them. And guess what? The bully always got the lesser punishment, even if what he did was more severe than the person he was attacking. I mean, this is why I don't have any kind of faith in humanity whatsoever. Because this stuff is running rampant so much right now. It's such a huge problem. I'm not going to let anyone tell me that everything's alright and that the world is a beautiful, hunky-dory, perfect place when you see this kind of thing happening all the time. And even right now, I have friends that are being bullied by people as well. And when they try to tell other people about it, guess what they say? The exact same thing. Just ignore them. I mean, what the fuck is that supposed to solve? If you really want to fix the issue, here's what you do. You get to the underlying causes. You talk with the attacker. You talk with the bully themselves. Let them know that this kind of crap will not go on, that it won't be tolerated, and that it's not just okay to brush that kind of thing off and let them keep doing it over and over. Because what that does is it leaves problems unresolved, and it shows people like that they're not going to get any kind of punishment or any kind of recourse for their actions. So what do? They keep doing it more and more until eventually they either ruin their own lives doing that kind of stuff and earn a reputation as the biggest asshole in the world, or they ruin someone else's life with it, and then guess what happens? Shootings happen, and people commit suicide. Very sensitive people like me and anyone else out there who may be autistic or may go through similar conditions that I do, you find that those people can't just brush things off. And then when they get attacked by somebody, if it's been going on for too long and no one's done anything about it, it gives them the sense of no hope. Like there's no hope for them, and that nobody's out there to help them. Nobody's going to actually fix the issue and let the attacker know that what they're doing is wrong and show them just how intolerable it is. When they get that kind of sense of hopelessness, then anger starts to kick in. They become angry that somebody would be so lazy and would pretty much be on the bully's side. Because when you tell someone to ignore it, you're ignoring the bullying, and you're ignoring the real issue, and you're doing something that's just as bad as what the bully is doing. The bully is wrong for attacking an innocent person, and all the administrators and whoever's in charge are just as wrong for allowing that kind of thing to continue on even when they know it's happening. That's what's wrong with society these days. Almost every single time I was bullied, I had that happen to me. And almost every single time that happened to me, it ended in a fight. Because I was left with no choice but to attack the other person, just to show them who's boss, and just to show them that I'm not going to take being attacked by some lowlife who thinks he's better than me and thinks that he needs to attack me for things that I can't help. Someone who thinks that they need to make the whole school laugh at me and make everybody else start bullying me. You find that for sensitive people like me and everyone else out there who's autistic or maybe going through mental conditions that make them obviously different than everyone else, the world is a very hostile place for people like that. Schools are the worst. In fact, the school is basically one giant bully made out of bricks and people for people like that, for kids like that. It was for me. And it seems like the world is going to hell with that kind of thing. I don't think there honestly is any hope that it'll ever be fixed. Because the more it becomes worse, the more reports you hear about schools not doing anything about the bullying and attacking the person who stands up against the bullies instead of punishing the one who initiated the bullying in the first place. There's a cause and an effect to everything. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, it all starts with the bully. The bully is the one who needs to be punished. The victim is the last person you ever want to punish. Because you don't know what that person feels inside or what they have to go through on a daily basis because of how somebody has treated them. And you don't know how strong their emotions can be on the inside. You don't know what it's like to be autistic because you're not. You don't know what it's like to be a person that's sensitive to bullying or be a person who's a target for that kind of stuff because you're not. And you think that just by telling somebody to ignore an issue when it's been ongoing, especially when they've already most likely tried ignoring them to begin with, if they've already tried that and it hasn't worked, what the fuck makes you think that it's going to work now? What makes you think that telling somebody to ignore it will ever fix anything? And who the hell is telling you, what the hell in your mind is telling you anyway, that the issue won't get, that the issue will just stay the way it is and not get any worse by doing that? Who the hell is telling you that? Who the hell is telling you that you're going to fix anything by just ignoring it? We don't fix our problems in life by ignoring them. We fix our problems by grabbing them by the root, solving them, figuring them out, and finding a way out of them. And the more people tell you to ignore that kind of bullying and that kind of attitude from other people, all you're doing is giving the bullies and all the bad people out there more of a chance to get away with what they love to do. And that's hurt other people that are sensitive. You're only giving them a chance to escape. You're only giving them the false idea that they have the right to do that kind of thing to somebody. And you're only giving the victim the idea that there's no hope for them and that they actually have to be the one to take action. And usually when that kind of thing happens, if somebody is that angry from all the bullying and stuff that's happened to them and they're that angry from being treated so poorly and being ridiculed by everyone, you're giving the victim a chance to lash out or do something really destructive or very harmful to another person, often something that's more harmful than what's necessary, something that involves more blood than what needs to be shed. That's how a lot of these shootings have happened at schools. A lot of them were victims that were lone wolves, people that were considered different than everyone else. And they were bullied, exiled, just completely excluded from all social groups. They had no friends just because they were different. They're some of the most sweet, innocent, and harmless people that you'll ever meet. And they're some of the most passionate and hardworking people when you get them to work on something that they love to do. they will actually be of benefit to this world because they reflect the kind of moral values. Two moral values, excuse me, those are two words that have apparently been removed from the dictionary. They reflect those kind of things that are missing from this world, that are disappearing faster than we can blink our eyes. More and more every day, people become more selfish. They become more hostile. They become more quick to jump to conclusions when they don't even know the real story behind anything. People are becoming lazier. They don't want to solve problems the right way anymore. They just want to take the easy way out. Well, guess what? Taking the easy way out is going to cause a hard life for someone else, and eventually for you. It just doesn't work. It may for a short time, but in the end it's all going to fall apart and it's just going to be back at square one again. You keep telling me to ignore it. You're not going to stop telling me to ignore the bullying and ignore all the problems that I'm facing because of other people. Well, guess what? I'm not going to stop reporting the problems until something gets done. You don't do anything about it, I don't stop telling about it. I won't stop talking about it. It's just as simple as that. I'm going to stand my ground and stick to my guns, and apparently you will do the same. But when you find that if you actually get the time to know an autistic person, they may do stuff that's really weird and may make you cringe and just think, oh, that's weird, I don't like that. And it makes you want to bully them and put them down or attack them for it. Well, guess what? When you take the time to actually get to know the person and see how much they know about life, how much they know about how you can and can't treat other people, how much they know about friendships, about being honest and being real for people, and how much they know about bullying, especially since they've most likely been through more bullying than you ever have, you find that they're some of the nicest people out there. You find that your life actually would be more meaningful and would be benefited by knowing them. But that's another thing in society that's wrong, and it's that we attack people that are diverse. We attack people when we see that they're different, or if we see something in them that makes us think that they're weird. We don't take the time to get to know them. We bully them, call them names, say things about them that may not even be true but still make the person feel really bad about themselves, and we basically try to ruin their lives emotionally. We act like we know them. We act like we know who that person is, what they feel inside. We treat them like they can help what they're going through when they really cannot. We think we know them, and at the same time, we think that we own them too. We think that we're better than them, and that they have to bow down before us, and just suck it up and take it like a good little boy. But that's not the case. You find that when someone gets mad enough, when somebody has been attacked enough by another person, and they become angry enough, they eventually will lash out. The severity of it depends. A lot of people that are victims of bullying don't even talk about it until it's too late, because they know that if they talk about it before it's too late, nothing's going to get done. The only time something ever gets done is when it's too late these days. So no, don't just ignore it. If someone is being bullied, stand up for them. Stand the fuck up and be a good person. Do what nobody else out there would. Be a rebel. Be the only person who does what's right when no one else will. Stand up for that little freshman that wears glasses and has no friends at the lunch table when you see him getting picked on by skate punks. Stand up for them. Do what's right. Be something of difference in this world. Make a good difference in this world for other people around you. Because, our lives aren't just valued by what we make for ourselves. Our lives are valued by how much value we are to the world around us and what we've done for society and people around us. And if all you do is think about yourself and do things strictly for yourself and nobody else, well, guess what? What goes around comes around. Eventually, nobody's going to give a shit about you either. And then you'll find that you're all alone. and you're going through the same things that you put other people through. You don't want to do anything about the bullying, you just want to tell the person to ignore it. Well, guess what? The next day, you hear stories about people getting stabbed at school or getting shot, or people getting punched out and getting in massive fights because of that kind of stuff, because the issue didn't get resolved, and because they were told to just ignore it. All that does is it makes the person, the victim, feel like nothing's going to be fixed. It gives them that message right off the bat. And then, guess what happens? The anger builds up. Eventually, when they have to deal with it longer and longer, they get more and more sick of it, to the point where they've tried everything. They don't feel like there's any hope. So they just want to get it over with, and they want to make sure that the other person knows not to do that again. Because sometimes even if you just talk to the other person, if you talk to the bully who's doing those nasty things, they just say, okay, I won't do it again. And then as soon as you turn around, you see them bullying that little freshman again. Bullies are not getting severe enough punishments for what they're doing. And the people that are victims are getting punishments that are way too severe. They shouldn't even be getting punished at all. And our society these days, our administrators in schools and stuff like that, they're just crossing so many lines by doing that. And all they're doing is lowering the social bar, lower and lower every single day because of it. So no. I will not just ignore the other person. I will not stand up for that kind of thing. I just won't stand for it. I'll stand up against it. I'll make sure that something gets done. And I'll make sure that I know something is getting done. And I'll make sure that the other person knows that they can't just treat other people like that. I'll make sure that they know what kind of crap can come out of that, especially if another person turns around and decides to do it right back to them, or if somebody decides to pull a weapon out on them, or decides to use their cold-blooded fists. You never know if somebody's going to get way too tired of it. You may think that you're the toughest person in the world, and that you can take anyone standing up against you, but that's where you're wrong. Because just when you think that you're the biggest person in the world, there's someone out there that you will run into who's twice as big as you. And twice as powerful. What goes around always comes around. Even if it's not instant, it will eventually come back around someday. And if all you've done is bully people and attack them for things that they can't even control about themselves, guess what? You're going to find that people are just going to attack you eventually and do the same things back to you. And guess what? Maybe the reason why you're doing that to people in the first place is because somebody else did it to you. Or because maybe you don't have enough friends that you consider real. Someone who would be a true homie, so to say. Someone who would be there for you no matter what. And would always stay by your side no matter what kind of weird shit you did. Or no matter how down you seemed or what you were going through, they would stay by your side and show you what it means to have a friend and have someone who's there for you when no one else is and when everything seems like it's over. Maybe the reason that you're bullying people is because you don't have that. So it's just something to think about. All the administrators out there, we're not just going to ignore it. We're not going to ignore the other person and just avoid them. We may do that. Some of us may do that, but guess what? The person who's bullying us and attacking us won't. They won't ignore us. They won't avoid us. They'll keep finding new ways to get to us. So, be the person who makes the difference. Be the one who actually takes a stand and shows the person who's wrong just how severe their actions really are, and show them just how severe the repercussions can be because of it. Make them feel like they can't get away with it. It used to be that way. How come it's not anymore? Back when my parents were growing up, if you called someone names or bullied someone in the hallway, it was strongly looked down upon. Especially in elementary schools and colleges and high schools. especially big public schools. They would yank you into the other room, and they would rip you a new one if they saw you putting someone down or bullying the little kid. Well, guess what? Nowadays when that kind of thing happens, not only do the students and all the other people around them just kind of watch it, videotape it, or walk away from it, but the administrators and staff do the same exact thing. They don't want to get involved with it. And by not getting involved with it, they're not going to fix the problem. They're just going to let it get worse until someone gets hurt. This generation is becoming more and more selfish, more and more fake, dishonest, hostile, and more exclusive than anything I've ever seen before. And it's getting worse every single day. And it's not just because I'm telling myself that it's bad either. It's because it is bad. It's time to open your eyes. Time to wake up, time to grow up, and time to do the right thing. Be the one who takes a stand against it. Be the one who actually puts an end to something when someone wants you to put an end to it. When someone actually may need you to put an end to it.